Welcome, St. Canard civilians. Today we got a special episode. We bringing in a iconic character, and let's get into it. This is the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Will Santana, and
I'm Mike Russo, and I've got those has-been superhero blues.
I like that one, Mike. Mike, I think you're doing backflips today, and you're excited.
Yes, this is the introduction to one of my all-time favorite Darkwing villains.
Oh yeah, man. Megavolt. He's not my favorite, but there's no way I could deny how iconic he is, and he's definitely top 3 in my book. But I know in most people he's either number 1 or number 2 for the villains.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the people got different opinions, but no one's gonna deny what he is to this show. No one.
Yeah, a lot of people prefer the certain yellow-jacketed Yahoo, but as far as Megavolt goes, you're right. There's no denying he's one of the most iconic of Darkwing foes.
Oh yeah,
and we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about him.
Oh yeah, I definitely know you probably will.
Oh yes.
Okay, so yeah, today we're going to talk about Duck Blind, which is Megavolt's intro episode. But before we do that, we'd like to have a little discussion before we do our review. And I wanted to talk with Mike about Walt Disney World. I've never been to Disneyland, but
me neither.
I've been to Walt Disney World several times, and I've learned some tricks because we seem to go like every 2 years or so. And, we get in for a fairly great price with my dad being retired military. So we do get discounts and stuff,
Oh, that's great. And you live close enough. You can go as often as you can.
Yeah, we live it's about a 6-hour drive for us. So.
Oh, man, if it was that close to me, I'd go all the time. 6 hours is nothing.
Okay. But Mike, have you learned any tricks to well, before we get into that, what is your favorite park at Disney World? No Magic Kingdom. You can't say Magic Kingdom. Throw that one out.
Well, I'm sorry, it's Magic Kingdom. There's absolutely no way it's not going to be Magic Kingdom. Anything else is lower tier compared to that one.
It's not fair, man.
But if you're absolutely gonna twist my arm and make me say something else, I'll say Epcot.
Epcot?
And that's mainly for a World Showcase. I love that side of the park.
Do you do any of those drinking games that people do for the World Showcase, like where they have a drink from each different country? Do you do that?
No, I couldn't physically handle something like that. But I do like traveling around World Showcase, getting a couple of beers, grabbing a pretzel over in Germany, going on the Donald Duck boat ride. It's my favorite thing to do there, just to walk around. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the rides over in Future World, and a lot of those are changing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but you're backing me into a corner here because you're not letting me talk about the Magic Kingdom. So.
I would say mine's got to be probably Hollywood Studios. I love Hollywood Studios because it feels like you're in different movie sets and you got the movie themes all over the place. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, the Pixar movies are all over the place. The Toy Story. They even got a Toy Story World now. I haven't been to that one yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah. But yeah, Hollywood Studios outside of Magic Kingdom, because Magic Kingdom, everybody's going to pick that. That's why I asked you for one outside. Now, have you learned any tricks of going to these parks and stuff?
Yeah, some. I would say nothing mind-blowing, but I've learned to not sweat going on everything. But that's because I've gone enough times that if I miss the Haunted Mansion, I won't worry about it. Like the last time we went, my daughter wasn't even 3 yet, and she was able to go on Pirates. Amazingly, she handled that really well, but she was too young to handle the Haunted Mansion. But I had gone on it so many times it didn't bother me. And I think some people go military style to these parks and try to do everything. And that is just insane. I used to do that back when I started going, but it's just so unimportant right now. I would rather go on the People Mover twice in a row than even bother going on Space Mountain at this point.
Okay.
I just don't feel like trying to do everything is worth it. It's just so exhausting, and you enjoy it so much more. There's so much to look at when you're there that if you're running from attraction to attraction, you never notice. Like the Imagineer names in the windows down Main Street. I mean, that's really neat to look at. Just little stuff. Going on the Enchanted Tiki Room on the Jungle Cruise. Attractions like that not everyone would want to go on because they're slower, more tamer attractions. And Everyone wants to go on Splash Mountain and Space Mountain, and the new Tron coaster is opening up next year. But I would gladly rather go on It's a Small World or something like that, especially now that I have my daughter. I just find you take the park at a more leisurely pace and don't go crazy, and also don't get caught up buying souvenirs too. I mean, that's the worst part.
Yeah, the souvenirs, what I've learned is because we stay at a timeshare that's like right outside of Disney World. It's like 10 minutes, and there is a Walmart on the way there, and it has like 70 to 80% of everything you see in the Disney parks for a lot cheaper,
Right.
Yeah, so like that's kind of one of my tips I would do is do the Walmart thing and then try Dollar Tree for like, ponchos because it rains a lot in Florida.
And Disney definitely has you over a barrel with the price of ponchos if you have to buy one when you're there, for sure.
Yeah, so definitely try the Dollar Tree, for little ponchos that you could just throw away when you're done with it,
But there's plenty of stuff they sell at Disney you can't get outside the parks, like the pins. Like the pins. I love the pins. I have a few Darkwing ones, a few other characters. The pins at this point are the only souvenirs I buy because it seems to make the most sense. I go on a new attraction, buy a pin. Stay at a resort, buy a pin. And they're not even $10. And it's like the best souvenir to have because it's a memento of what you've done when you're there. So I stick with those.
Yeah, I always have to buy my Dominoes from there. I have this thing for Dominoes. Like every country I've been to or like every state, I like to buy a Domino set that shows what state or what country I was in. And I never been able to find it outside of the park, man. I always got to get the Dominoes inside of the park.
See, I'm like that with magnets. Every time I go to a new state or a museum or a theme park, I always buy a magnet. You should see my fridge. I have magnets for aquariums, science museums, Legoland, Crayola Experience, a whole bunch of Disney ones. No matter what I go to, I went to a Mystery Science Theater live show on Friday. I bought I bought a magnet. So that's my usual souvenir. But at Disney, it's a couple of pins whenever I go. Okay. My one big, it's such an insignificant tip, but all across Disney they have build your own Mr. Potato Head. And I went there a few years ago, the first time we went with my daughter, and my biggest tip for that, if you want to get a Mr. Potato Head at Disney World, you buy the big bucket and you fill 2 small potato heads with as much as you can and fit those into the bigger bucket. We got like 100 different potato head pieces for $50 when we went.
Oh, wow.
And it was a huge bargain, like a bigger bargain than if you bought something over in stores around here. So that's like the best tip I could think of at the moment. Otherwise, it's just like I said, you take the parks leisurely, don't go crazy, unless it's like the only time in your life you're going to be there and you want to do as much as you can. And also don't overspend going to the best possible hotel. I mean, the Contemporary and the Polynesian are nice, but the best rooms can cost you over $1,000 a night. Yeah. And the smaller hotels, especially if you have kids, they may be further from the parks, but the bus system there is so efficient. And how much time are you going to spend in the resorts anyway?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you'd have to dedicate 24 hours to each park, and then, Magic Kingdom, I don't even know how it's possible to even do it in one day. We always dedicate 2 days to Magic Kingdom. That park is just way too big.
Right. Amazingly, last time we were down in Florida 2 years ago, we only had the time and money to go to Disney one day. So I don't know how we pulled it off. We got to Epcot when it opened to go on Frozen Ever After, which broke down while we were on it. We had to be escorted off of it. We had to wait for the Fast Pass window they gave us to open so we could go on again. We did that, and we decided, you know what? We got park hoppers. Let's head over to the Magic Kingdom. We basically spent 12, 13 hours at Epcot and Magic Kingdom with my daughter, and we did a lot of stuff. I don't know how we did it, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. It's crazy.
Okay.
But I also don't recommend going during spring break because it's always insane there. Yeah, but my biggest tip, if you're listening now and you're planning on going very soon, consider going next year because 2021 is the 50th anniversary of Disney World, and it is going to be packed.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go and you don't care about missing the 50th anniversary celebrations, go next year. I think this is my own speculation. I think the crowds will be low, and we're gonna go next year. And I think it's the best time to go because you're not gonna have the crazy waits. 2021 is gonna be insane. I'll tell you that much.
My last two tips would be, basically, if you feel one of the adults can miss a ride, go get in the character line and let the adult handle the ride with the kids and stuff, and then that way when you're getting close to the front on the character line, you're already there, so they're not waiting in line. That was one thing me and my wife did really well, is we kind of split up a little bit. Of course, we didn't split too far, like I'm like 2 buildings away or just right around the corner in a character line.
Stay in the land. If your kid wants to see a character in Fantasyland, go put them on a Small World or something like that, and you wait on the line. Don't be sure you're not walking a half a mile just to get back to where you were. And by the way, comfortable shoes.
Oh yeah.
Stay hydrated. You know what the biggest tip, honestly, Will? Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
If you have never been to Florida before and you think you can handle it, you are probably wrong.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna save my last tip. We're at 11 and a half minutes. We got to talk Megavolt, man. Let's go ahead and get into Duck Blind, man.
We do. I could talk about Disney World all day, though, honestly.
Okay, well, maybe we'll save it for a Flash Crack episode, but let's get into Duck Blind. Mike, man, who wrote this episode?
This episode was written by a writer named Len Yulee. Mm-hmm. He's still active in the industry. He did a whole bunch of other Disney shows. And he only wrote one other Darkwing Duck episode besides this one. But before I tell you which one that is, I'm going to set it up a little bit. You ready?
Go for it.
He also wrote for the original DuckTales. It was one of the first shows he wrote for. And he wrote for some of the later ones. Now, one DuckTales episode he wrote for is one of my all-time favorites. And I know you've probably seen it.
Which one?
The Masked Mallard.
Oh, I love that one.
I think it's my favorite DuckTales episode. I wish my favorite was one of the earlier ones, but I'm sorry. I love Gizmo Duck, and I love this episode. And just to clear it right now, this episode did not inspire Darkwing Duck. Tad Stones hadn't even seen it. Mm-hmm. So just so you know, even though it shares a lot in common with Darkwing, it was not an inspiration. But I love the episode so much, and Len Yulee wrote that one. So we got in that episode Gizmo Duck going up against a purple caped crime fighter. Do you know what other Darkwing Duck episode he wrote? Tiff of the Titans.
Hey, I like that one too.
Yeah, so he had a history with Gizmo Duck and Fenton Crackshell.
Okay.
So, and those are the only 2 episodes he wrote, but he got to write the introduction of Megavolt and the introduction of Gizmo Duck into the Darkwing universe. Okay. So 2 episodes, but 2 exceptionally strong ones. Mm-hmm. And the story editor was Kevin Crosby Hops. We've talked about him already. And this episode aired Monday, September 16th, 1991. And it was 14th in production order. So 1 episode before the introduction of Bushroot, making it our first supervillain episode.
Okay.
So there we go.
Yeah, so this was early in production then.
Yeah, but it goes to show you how many episodes they went before they introduced a supervillain.
Okay, and who animated this one?
This was another one animated by Disney Japan. But it was animated by a lower tier studio. Now, it definitely doesn't look like Darkly Dawn's the Duck Part 2. The animation is very different. And that is because now some of this is part speculation, part actual fact, I know for sure. When the episodes went to Japan, they didn't go to one team. They often got spread out to different types of studios. Now, the animation supervision was by a man named Shigeru Yamamoto for all the episodes across the board, but they would be sent to different studios. And the problem is all the studios these episodes were sent to are listed in every episode. So I don't know who did what. We got an episode named Atelier BWCA, Animation Art Studio Jack, G8 Animation Productions, Tama Productions. These are all Japanese studios. But it results in different visual tears. This one doesn't look as nice as Darkly Dawn's the Duck. Characters can be a little off model sometimes. The drawings aren't as strong. There's some good shots of Megavolt, honestly. But the episode animation is, I'll say it's fine. It's better than Sunwoo, but it's not up to the best that Disney Japan had to offer.
Yeah.
But it's fine. A few other episodes with this style are the 2 Comic Guy episodes and Slave to Fashion. Okay. So it's like a lower tier Disney Japan, still okay, but not as good as Darkly Dawn's a Duck or Negaduck or Life of the Negaverse and everything. So not every Disney Japan episode was made equally.
Okay. So Mike, man, take it away, man. Let's get into the episode.
Let's start with the plot. I love how the episode starts. It's so moody. It just starts St. Canard's experiencing a blackout, and it just starts with shots of the city, from above ground level, close to the ground, and we start off with that great Megavolt theme. Like it's kind of like demented circus music, and I couldn't even hum it. It's so strange. But that's Megavolt's theme that starts off this episode. And we are introduced to him first. I think at this point, this is the first time we meet the villain before we meet Darkwing. And that shows how much confidence the writing crew had in this new character. And I can't think of a Darkwing villain who is introduced better than Megavolt. He's sitting on the roof, unscrewing light bulbs from a sign. And he's looking at one, and he says, "Nice filament," as if he's sizing up a potential date. And I mean, Megavolt has a fetish for light bulbs. He's always gonna have that. And then he starts a conversation with a light bulb. "We are happy to see you, Megavolt. Do you want to come home with me?" And he's insane. This character is he's the most insane villain we've met so far.
Yeah.
But this is a character who revels in being insane. Like, Megavolt is a complete nut job, and that's part of what makes him so perfect. And he's insane, but he is definitely the most physically powerful villain Darkwing really has in his rogues gallery. But the fact that he's insane makes him a little less dangerous than he actually could be. But this is just a perfect introduction to him. Like, we're with him 10 seconds, and we get who he is. You know? And the design of Megavolt, we said before he's iconic, but that goes with the design too. I mean, it's perfect. You got the plug on his head, the battery strapped to his back, the outlet on his chest, the crazy hair, what's left of it, the mismatched eyes, the rubber gloves and the work boots he wears, just a color yellow and blue color scheme, and just his species too. I guess he's a mouse, and it just makes him look so demented. I mean, I love drawing Megavolt. He's so much fun. And of course, we cannot overlook how much life Dan Castellaneta gives to this character.
Yeah. I love his voice.
I love his performance of Megavolt. Now, Dan got his start in '87 on the Tracy Ullman Show. And we all know what family got their start on the Tracy Ullman Show. The Simpsons, in which Dan, of course, voiced
Homer Simpson.
Homer J. Simpson, a character he's still doing 32 years later, along with Barney Gumble, Grandpa Simpson, and, of course, Krusty the Clown.
Yeah.
And he's still doing that stuff. And he had worked for Disney before, Darkwing Duck. He voiced a mad scientist in the Tailspin episode with the exact same voice, and voiced in another villain on Aladdin with the exact same voice. His most what am I going to say? His most frequent Disney role was as the genie after Robin Williams turned it down. But of course, I think his best Disney role is obviously Megavolt.
Oh yeah.
And he did so much voice acting. Like one character that jumps at me right now is Arnold's grandpa from Hey Arnold. But he's not doing as much now. I
He
think
doesn't need to.
he doesn't need to. He's been doing Homer for so long, and those main voice actors from The Simpsons make so much money that when they brought the villains back for the new DuckTales, they did not get Dan for Megavolt. And
he sounded like him though.
He did sound like him, yeah. But Dan's just a fantastic voice actor. Just that voice.
Oh yeah.
Like, he has so much fun voicing Megavolt, because just Megavolt's just a fun character. Just the laugh. I love Megavolt's laugh. And so yeah, we're like 5 seconds into the plot, and I've been talking for like 10 minutes already. So you're Megavolt, our top tier villain. This is his introduction. And so Darkwing and Launchpad, and you can jump in here, Will, are watching him.
Yeah, and Darkwing tries to sneak up on him, and he trips over that. I think it was like a metal pipe or something that he tripped over.
And the important thing to remember, unlike I think every villain we've met so far, Darkwing has a pre-existing history with Megavolt that clearly precedes Launchpad. Yep. And as we're going to find out, probably 2 years from now, the two of them went to high school together. So that's how far back they go. And it's funny, Darkwing likes to gloat, but it is true. They do have a history. Megavolt is afraid of him. But Megavolt is also powerful enough that he can go on the offensive when Darkwing does show up. And Megavolt is so aggravated by Darkwing Duck. Darkwing has clearly been foiling his schemes for years, and Megavolt's just had it up to here with him. And by now, Darkwing, of course, has the famous insult. That
Sparky.
That Quackerjack would pick up on it. He says it in this very episode. He calls him Sparky. And already we got, don't call me Sparky.
Yeah, he got mad quick.
That's going to continue. And I might as well throw this in. Megavolt was not his original name.
No, what was it?
Dimbulb.
Oh, I did not know that.
And he is called that in this episode. Darkwing does call him that as an insult, but that was going to be his name. I can't picture that going forward being an effective name. I think it's not threatening enough. Megavolt works. Dimbulb is just an insult. I'm happy they changed it.
Oh yeah, me too. Megavolt worked.
So what happens next?
Megavolt, they get into a battle. They get into
a rooftop.
Yeah, they get into a battle, and the battle goes down inside as well, which is very iconic for you TurboGrafx people, because that rooftop is the whole scene for the Megavolt level.
Right.
And basically Megavolt turns everything on Darkwing inside of that when they go downstairs.
Yeah, Megavolt. I mean, Busher's got his plans, but if Megavolt can electromagnetize steak knives,
everything, he had everything going at Darkwing.
He is a really powerful villain that could be even more deadly if he wasn't completely nuts. And Darkwing mentions that he sent him to the electric chair twice, which is super dark.
Yeah, and the thing is, his powers were coming from his helmet or his hat, whatever that is, and then they were coming from his gloves too, and from his chest. They were coming everywhere, man.
Yeah, he's a living power battery. But he has so much fun being who he is. Just when Darkwing tries to do an entrance, I am the terror that flaps in the night, and Megavolt goes, happy flapping, and it's like he like I said, he revels in being an insane villain the way no villain we've seen has so far. Megavolt is just this joyously childish character, and there's only one other villain that tops him as far as that goes. Your boy, basically.
Oh yeah.
And those two were meant to be together. And the best scene early on is when the two of them crash into each other, and Darkwing says, you are not a well person. And Megavolt says, what? And you're normal? I am the cold sore that stings your lip? We are definitely talking demented. And that's the only entrance we get. The only entrance line Megavolt actually says. And so Megavolt has to make a getaway. So I'm going to take it from here, Will.
Well, the getaway, he lights up the entire room. Even the viewer can't see what's going on. And Darkwing gets blinded, man. He's blinded for the rest of the episode for a while. For majority of the episode, he's blinded, and Megavolt gets away. And they go back to as Drake to his house.
Well, actually, we do a quick stopover at the hideout with Launchpad and the kids.
That's right. That's
We got
right.
Honker in this one.
Yeah,
Been a
Honker's
while
in
for
this
Honker.
episode.
Yeah, he actually. I feel like this is the first really strong Honker episode, because he has more dialogue, and I feel like Katie is really getting into this character now.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have this little thing with Goslin and Honker where Goslin, for her, this is actually not a character for her. She's being very cautious.
Yeah.
She's worried about Darkwing. She's being very protective. But Honker's being positive.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, blind people do all sorts of great things, like Johann Sebastian Bach. Goslin goes, Johann played piano. He didn't have anyone shooting at him. So then they go to the house.
Yeah, so they're at the house. He's blind, and he still wants to go after Megavolt. He wants to she's asking him. Goslin starts asking him, "What would you do?"
No, that's later.
No, that's later.
That's later.
Yeah.
So actually, no. I think they jump over to the Thunderquack next. And they don't go back to the house right away. They're at the Thunderquack.
And he has the blindfold on, right?
Not yet. So he spends the first half of the episode with his eyes wide open with these tiny beady eyes.
I'm screwing this all up. I remember now. He had the headphones on when they get to the place, and he's like saying, "Launchpad could be my eyes."
Yeah, so they're looking for Launchpad up at Megavolt up in the sky, and the Darkwing is using his ears. He's using his other senses.
Yeah.
He listens to the radio.
And the radio interference is where he realizes where Megavolt would be.
But by the way, great line from the radio. Like the only other character aside from our other four is this unseen radio announcer with a line that's like straight out of The Simpsons, which is, but denies it was the president who was allergic to whipped cream. And that's Dan. That's gotta be Dan.
Okay.
And so Darkwing hears the static and realizes that the Megavolt must be in the electric automobile factory right below them. And then they go in, and that's when Darkwing puts the gloves on. Mm-hmm. And uses the headphones.
Yeah, and then Megavolt really shows more power here. He lights up that car, man. Woo.
Yeah, he's stealing an electric car. Mm-hmm. It's a DeLorean, obviously DeLorean.
Yeah, because the way the doors open too.
Yeah, Megavolt likes his fancy gadgets.
Yeah, so basically Darkwing's using his ears, and Launchpad is telling him what's coming at him.
And he's doing pretty good at first.
Yeah.
He's jumping around, and of course Megavolt has no idea he's blind yet.
Yeah, not yet. And then I'm trying to remember, something happened to
Darkwing walks into a steel beam and breaks the radio.
Yeah, the radio broke, and that's when he couldn't hear Launchpad anymore.
Right.
But Megavolt still didn't figure out he was blind yet.
Yeah, Darkwing accidentally punches a button on some equipment that picks up the DeLorean and crushes it in the machinery.
Mm-hmm. But Megavolt lights it up again, though.
Not after Darkwing crushes it.
No?
Well, it drives into a wall for a second, and then Megavolt fixes it.
Okay.
But then Darkwing ends up destroying it in the machinery. And there is a really quick shot, since we're listing things that showed up in the theme song with every episode, where Megavolt...
he's on the power cable, right?
Well, earlier he screams, "Not my DeLorean," and he slaps his hands against his head. Yeah. Really nice animated shot. He looks really great in that shot, but that's in the theme song. And Megavolt gets mad because it crushes the car into a cube. Mm-hmm. So he pushes Darkwing, and Darkwing ends up on the conveyor belt. Because you're not a Disney show of this era if you don't end up on a conveyor belt. Because name me a show where it hasn't happened, and I'll give you a cookie. So Megavolt makes a getaway because there's nothing more for him to do there. Mm-hmm. And Launchpad gets down there. He breaks open a metal gate and shuts the machinery off. And Darkwing falls into a vat of, I don't know, motor oil, glue. I don't know what it is.
I didn't know what it was either.
And they're leading him around the parking lot, and that's when Megavolt's sitting on the power lines.
Yeah, because he saw Darkwing going all over the place, and they were trying to give him directions and stuff. So
yeah, he finally puts it together, and there's just this fantastic shot. And again, it's in the theme song. It's beautifully animated where he says he has a really bright idea, and he's rubbing his hands together, and his helmet's sparking.
Yeah, and that is a dope shot.
And the camera tracks into the helmet on the electricity, and then the scene changes. I love that shot.
It's a great shot, man. You can't deny that shot, man.
I mean, he's so on model. The electricity is so well animated, and the camera truck into his helmet. No wonder that's in the theme song. Mm-hmm. And you know what's funny? In every iteration of the theme song, even in the ABC episodes when they took out all the syndicated shots, that shot of Megavolt stayed in.
Oh, okay.
They kept that in. Someone must have loved it. So yeah, Megavolt now knows what's going on. So we're at the house. Now we're at the house.
Okay, now we're at the house, and that's when Gosling tries to steal the cookie.
Yep.
And Darkwing has a machine that Honker built for him. Like he kind of explained numerous things. He mentioned infrared. He mentioned like the hearing sounds that it improved what he could hear. It enhanced his hearing and stuff.
And it also gives him like data readouts and stuff like that. And he said Honka ordered it from his catalogs. And Gosling's mad because she doesn't want him crime fighting anymore. But Honker's just trying to help.
Yeah.
And Megavolt takes over the airwaves. And I feel like this challenge she offers, I feel like in a few episodes down the line, Megavolt wouldn't be smart enough to do this. But he says to everybody, meet me at first light.
Mm-hmm.
And he lets on that he knows Darkwing's blind.
Yeah.
And first light is not dawn; it's the first light bulb.
Yeah, I guess the first street light, right?
Yeah. One thing I want to mention is, have you noticed in this episode, they go everywhere they have to go with the Thunderquack?
Yeah, no rat catcher in this episode.
No. Yeah, they go to the car factory, the Hall of Inventions, and the lighthouse at the end of the episode, all with the Thunderquack. Mm-hmm. They don't even bother with the rat catcher. I wonder why. Oh, I know why. You know what? Duh, stupid. Darkwing drives the rat catcher. How could he do that if he's blind? It makes total sense now.
Yeah,
having Launchpad do that. Okay, you know what? I thought it was a plot hole or something, or maybe someone didn't know about the rat catcher. Obviously not. Why would Darkwing drive the rat catcher if he's blind? So anyway, Darkwing shows up at the Hall of Inventions, and I love the Wizard of Oz reference that Megavolt does. Did you catch that?
Yep. Go for it.
You need a lion, a scarecrow, and a little Toto.
Oh, man.
So Darkwing's pretty cocky with this, with the weapons he's got until he breaks it.
Yeah, he accidentally breaks it when he was trying to flip it on. He was bragging. That's his own fault too, though.
Yeah, Darkwing should never brag. That always comes back to bite him. And his weapons.
He owns it
haywire.
on this one though. He owns it on this one though about
being
cocky. Yeah, he owns it.
Yeah. So the weapons go out of control. Megavolt gets away with the light bulb, and Darkwing starts a fire.
Mm-hmm. And that's when they battled the fire. Like they gave the fire life, like it was its own villain.
That's such an odd thing. I wonder if that was a way to have the kids in danger of fire without getting too dangerous. You know. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a standards and practices thing, because the living fire just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's cute. And Launchpad has to save the day.
Yeah, that was not the Joyrider though.
But it pretty much was the same type of plane.
Yeah, it looked so close to it.
And Launchpad's line, if it's got a wing, we've got a prayer. That is classic DuckTales Launchpad. Because he rarely ever gets a chance to be a hero and say things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I love what happens here. He flies backwards out a window, knocks over a water tower, which puts out the fire, and the water just knocks over the plane, just flips it over really gently. And it's just like Launchpad's tamest crash.
Yeah. And then
everyone's okay.
Mm-hmm. They go back to Drake's house after that, right?
But what does Darkwing do? He realizes he put everyone's life in danger.
Yeah,
and
he wants to retire.
Quit. He decides to quit. Yeah. From now on, there is no more Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, and that's when Gosling starts asking him, "What would you do?" and stuff.
Yeah, Gosling wanted him to take it easy, but she didn't want him to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get the Has Been Superhero song on the harmonica that I sang when this episode started. Again, when Darkwing is low, he just wallows in self-pity. He's, like I said, pathetic Darkwing is my favorite kind of Darkwing, just because Jim Cummings gets so hammy with the acting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Gosling is just like, what would you do for the sake of argument? How would you find Megavolt? So they get in the easy chairs, hit the statue, and they go after Megavolt again based on Darkwing's suggestion. Yeah,
they tricked him, and he pretty much just told him to look for where the most power is coming from in the city.
Right. I mean, obviously with Megavolt.
Yeah.
And that where does that lead them?
To the lighthouse.
To the lighthouse. The first of Megavolt's two hideouts.
Mm-hmm.
Megavolt was lucky enough to have two hideouts. I feel like this is his home, and that abandoned building in the bad part of town, which I prefer as his hideout, that must be like his workshop.
Okay.
Because we see that for the first time in Negaduck, so we'll talk about that when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is his home because he's wearing a robe and these cute little slippers with light bulbs on them.
Is this the only time we get to see his hair without that hat on?
No, I think he takes it off in Clash Reunion.
Okay.
But again, way down the line. So, but I love it how he's all cozy at home, not with his robe, not bothering anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so Goslin decides to go in with Honker and Launchpad and see if Megavolt's in there.
Yeah.
And I love Goslin. We go in. Dad says, "I am the terror." Blah blah blah. Darkwing never gets to say it in this episode.
Honker's scared to go in there though.
Well, wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
If you were going up against Megavolt, I mean, he's no Lilliput. He's definitely on a completely different tier here. Yeah. And they get captured right away. I mean, they would know it wasn't going to happen.
I didn't understand how they got captured though. He had that magnet,
Maybe it attracted the weapons they were holding, or
okay. I was trying to figure that out when I watched it. I was like, I didn't get the magnet thing.
You know what? It's Darkwing Duck. I try very hard not to question it, and Megavolt recognizes them immediately as the Darkwing Duck fan club, and he is the only villain in the entire show who later on would address Launchpad by name, which never happens.
Wow, never realized that.
Yeah, he's the only one. And because it's so far away, it's in Clash Reunion when Megavolt's looking for the hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Thanks, Launchpad. No problem, Megavolt." And my wife loves that. My wife always loves how Launchpad and Megavolt know each other, and they're kind of friendly with each other, even though they're enemies. But yeah, he's the only villain who knows Launchpad by name and actually addresses him as such. So Darkwing has to come save them.
Yeah.
It's
and I love this part because we get a Star Wars duel in here.
Yeah, he has this light up lightsaber sword.
Yeah.
And again, I want to talk more about Jim. Some of the noises Darkwing Duck makes, those karate sounds. I mean, it's utter nonsense. It's not even karate sounds. it's just Jim going "Spotahoy, homie, like that, and you can't even imitate it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's just part of Darkwing's vocal thing that he just makes these noises when he's doing karate. And he's trying. I mean, he's pretty good. I mean, he's using his senses to know he's above a light. And I love that shot. He's trying to hit Megavolt with his cane, but he's missing.
Oh yeah.
And take this, some of this, and forget that one. And
he accidentally gets him tied up though.
Yeah, and he ties him up with it, which is an accident, but it's effective.
Yeah. And then is that when Megavolt shocked the whole room, or
no? Darkwing sticks his cane into a equipment and electrocutes himself.
Yeah, that's right. And then that's when he's able to see again. Well, everything goes, all the power goes out first.
Yeah, this is the first time we get a shot of Saint Canard totally going black, which happens a lot more than you think. Saint Canard is very used to roaming blackouts thanks to Megavolt. And so the electric shock brings his vision back. And so now he can see. And we get a really clever ending when Goslin goes to hug him and they drop their flashlight.
Oh, yeah.
And all you see are their eyes in the darkness.
And then but Megavolt gets away, right?
Well,
they never really show him.
They don't show what they do. I assume he goes to jail. I mean, there are some ambiguous episodes later in the run where they're not exactly on the wrong side of the bad guys. Like the bad guy is helping them. And you wonder what does happen at the end.
I assumed he got away because the blackout. They didn't see where he went.
It's possible he did.
Yeah.
But it's Darkwing Duck. It leaves things up to your imagination, and I'm happier with it that way. But this is the first episode where Darkwing ends up with some sort of handicap that he has to deal with.
Yeah.
Things like unwanted superpowers or 2 broken legs. Darkwing can overcome anything, really.
So, Mike, I know you're a big Megavolt fan. even being biased, what do you think of this episode overall? Matter of fact, let's go ahead. Let's get into the gas gun canister. What are you gonna rate this episode?
Okay. This is a good episode, a very, very good episode. Mm-hmm. But there are much better Megavolt episodes.
I agree.
Because it's still early. I mean, they got Megavolt, who he basically is, but there's so much to Megavolt we don't have yet. You know, he's still pretty competent. He's not losing his memory as often. He can come up with these great schemes on his own. Later episodes, he's a lot more unhinged, you know, and I think the episodes later on are much better for it. Mm-hmm. As an intro to the character, though, this is fantastic. And really, apart from the through line with Darkwing being blind, there is no plot. It's just the characters keep going up against Megavolt. I mean, it's Megavolt's show as much as it's Darkwing's show. And for that, I can't rate this too high, but I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
Because it's strong. It's a perfect introduction to Megavolt, and all the characters they're in character. The animation's fine, not spectacular, it's fine. And I feel like in terms of air date, this is the episode. This is the episode where the show is really coming together. Like, it's introducing Megavolt is like the dawn of like the supervillain era for Darkwing Duck. You had Bushroot before, but Megavolt really brings you back into that.
Yeah.
You know, and we're gonna get a ton of Megavolt episodes coming up really fast.
I'm gonna give this episode probably a 3.5. I really enjoy. I like it a lot, and you know, we're talking about Megavolt, so you know, I guess we're also rating him at the same time too. You know, he's so powerful, and it's like throughout this episode, you see them battling, and it's like you could kind of pick a winner, or you can call it a draw on each battle they had. You know,
right? Well, and go on.
Yeah, and you know, like he just shows like. Man, he just points his finger. He bows his head, and power is just all over the place, man. And it's like you don't even know what he's gonna shock next. You know, like we even saw the sink come to life. You know?
Yeah, he's unpredictable.
He's so unpredictable, and he's so iconic. And I know a lot of people know who my favorite villain is, but I have never knocked Megavolt. I love him. You know, he's without a doubt so powerful. He's iconic. I enjoy him. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating because I want you to finish up on Megavolt.
Oh, absolutely.
So my score on Megavolt, I'm gonna give him a 5. That might surprise you. I'm gonna give him a 5.
You said you weren't going to. Way back when you said you weren't going to. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you changed your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason so far well, no, I'll take it back. I was gonna say he's the only Darkwing villain from the Funko Pop line, but they did do Negaduck first, and that's only because he's a Darkwing repaint. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a reason why Megavolt's in the Funko line. He is the most recognizable. Yeah. Honestly, you know that guy with a battery strapped to his back. And I will point out, Megavolt is in the most episodes of any villain. Mm-hmm. I think he's in 12 or 13 solo episodes, 5 with the Fearsome Five and 2 with Quackerjack. And he's the only one of the 4 supervillains who even came back in season 2. So obviously everybody on staff loved this guy.
What's your score for him?
5. Gas
5.
Yeah, he's just way too iconic to give him anything lower. And he's versatile. Mm-hmm. Like, he shows up in all sorts of different types of episodes, as like an unredeemable bad guy, as a good guy with with nothing against him. Mm-hmm. They use him in so many different ways.
Yeah, most Darkwing fans, when you see them on social media, we have these kind of discussions. He's always either number 1 or number 2. You know,
I think amongst the fans themselves, mm-hmm. I think Negaduck tends to edge him out because people love how evil he is, and we're gonna have plenty to say about Negaduck when we get to him. But Negaduck gets a lot of attention because of how evil he is. I think he has a lot of fangirls who love him too.
Megavolt's number 3, unfortunately, because I'm biased toward one person. Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. I love my guy. My guy is always gonna be number 1. There's just no way you can't change my mind on that.
No, I don't intend to, but you still gave Megavolt 5.
Oh yeah, like the only way you can change my mind on Cracker Jack not being number one is you need a signed statement from God or something,
Or
And,
Michael Bell.
yeah, good luck getting that signature. So
No.
but yeah, for the most part though.
I don't disagree with you though. Quacker Jack is fantastic, but
Mhm.
I bet more people would be more familiar with Megavolt
Oh
just
yeah, of course.
because he's just been in so many episodes,
Hmm.
and so I love the guy. I just think he's fantastic. Like I said, there's so much you can do with him. He isn't limited by his power. Um, and he's just, again, I said it before, I love his relationship with Darkwing. The fact that the two of them know each other so well, to the point where in future episodes, Darkwing will start his entrance and Megavolt will say something like, "Oh no, not him again."
Yeah.
Because, I mean, whenever they fight, you could tell it's like a dance the two of them do.
Yeah, I
The,
mean,
the
because
two,
Megavolt's dangerous and he's funny, he's witty, he's smart. So it's like he brings a lot to the table, man.
Mhm.
He really does. But all right, Mike. So okay, enough with Duck Blind. It was a great episode. I really like it. What episode we doing next?
Boy, we're doing the first episode that I think they really go out of the box with. Like the first episode that's just, okay, this is a fantastic show. Comic Book Capers.
Oh, that's one of my top 10, man.
Yeah, mine too. That is
Yeah.
the episode where it's like Darkwing was good before, but now
Mhm.
we see what the show can really do.
Okay, I love
And
this episode. They got really
and
creative on that one.
we get Megavolt again, so immediately we get Megavolt again. And what helps this episode, I will not elaborate more than this, we have Disney Australia back again,
Okay.
which just is the icing on the cake for that episode. But that's next. We
Hmm.
will have a lot to say about that. So,
Okay.
absolutely.
All
So,
right.
here we
Mike, I
go.
know, yeah, Mike, I know you're probably tired of this part, but you never know when somebody's listening for the first time. Where can they find you at, man?
I'm on Facebook, Mike Russo.
Okay.
I'm not tired of it. It's just there's nothing to say about it.
All right. I'm Will Santana. I'm also on Facebook. We have the Saint Canard Files, the Darkwing Duck Podcast Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. You can also email us at saintcanardfiles@gmail.com. Mike, anything new going on with the Facebook page, or anything you got planned going on with it?
Nothing I can think of. Because we record these episodes so far in advance. Who knows what I might decide to do when we get there. Probably something Megavolt related. He'll be our character of the week that week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, he's the only other character in this episode, unless I want to talk about the news reporter who we don't even see.
Okay.
But no, it'll be Megavolt.
Okay, so that one's probably gonna get a lot of reaction for a character.
I hope so.
All right,
It's
guys.
Megavolt, man.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed Duck Blind. Check it out. It's a fun episode. It's Megavolt's origin episode. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and sign out. We'll catch you on next week for Comic Book Capers, which is a great episode overall, man. And I'll explain why I love that one too.
We will be talking about that one for a while because there is so much to digest in that episode.
All right, well, guys, we're signing out. Make sure y'all stay dangerous.
Yep. Have a good night.
Good night, y'all. Okay, so Isabella, you watched your first episode of Darkwing today. What did you think?
Good.
It was good? You liked it?
Hmm.
What did you like about the episode?
When Metavolt said
Megavolt.
when Metavolt said 3 might
Oh,
die.
the 3 blind mice? Okay, was there anything else you liked about the episode?
When Darkwing said that what else to do Launchpad when his headphones things broke.
Oh, when the headphones broke? Okay, would you watch any more episodes of Darkwing Duck?
I don't know.
You don't.
Yeah.
You would? So
Yeah.
you liked it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who's your favorite character so far?
I like Lunchpad.
You like Lunchpad? Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mama. Thank you for being on our podcast today. Okay. So maybe you'll watch some more episodes with me in the future. All right. Thank you. All right. So,
Wait, I thought the future is the past.
no, the past is the past. The future is the future. Okay.
But then it's a movie future.
Okay. But you'll watch some more Dark with me, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Say goodbye to all the people who are listening on the podcast.
Bye.